All right, here we go on page 2 of these notes, and essentially what we're doing here is we're going to take these two triangles, these two special right triangles, the 30, 60, 90, and the 45, 45, 90, and we're going to use them to fill in some of these coordinates of the unit circle. As you see here, there's 3 kind of odd degree measures, and then there's 1 kind of easy one. So the 45 degree, that's the easy one, which we have a special right triangle for that. The 150, the 240, and the 315 may seem kind of strange, but what we're going to end up doing is relating them back to these 30, 60, 90 triangles to help fill out these coordinate points. All right, then we're going to go back to the unit circle and fill in as much as we can there, which at this point should be everything, hopefully. All right, so let's start here at the easy one, the 45 degree angle. Essentially, we know, just a frame of reference, this is obviously 90 degrees, so if I'm going to split that in half, I have a 45 degree. Okay, so we're looking at that 45 degree angle. Let's get rid of those lines. What I do here, just like in the last video, is I'm going to drop an altitude down to the coordinate grid. Down to the grid, I'm going to drop an altitude, which is a right angle, and now I have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Drop the altitude, 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay, let's use the triangle pattern right here and match it up with this actual triangle. We know that the radius right here, the radius from the center to a point on the circle, has to be 1. So that radius has to be 1, which means that if I look at the relationship between this triangle that I just drew and the triangle to the right, how far is this section, this orange, right, would be square root of 2 over 2. And again, that's my x value. That's right and left, right? So I'm going right square root of 2 over 2. And then, of course, that gets rid of that side. I have the 1 in green. So the 1 in green, I have that square root of 2 over 2 in orange. And then we can just say in blue, I have this portion of it being square root of 2 over 2 as well. So I know that my height there, or my y coordinate, is square root of 2 over 2 as well. And that's just using that 45, 45, 90 right triangle that we saw to the right and then also above. All right, so at 45 degrees, I have square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 2 over 2 as my coordinate points. I'm going to go back to the first day and fill this in. You don't have to right now if you don't want to, just to give you a frame of reference. If I go back to this unit circle that we've been working with, here's 45 degrees, which I also know is pi over 4. I'm going to have my 2 coordinate points, square root of 2 over 2, and for y, square root of 2 over 2. All right. Onward. Let's look at 150 degrees. Now, obviously, we don't have a special right triangle for 150 degrees. In fact, if you had a 150 degree triangle, angle in a triangle, it wouldn't leave very much room for the other 2 degrees, right? You're talking about only having 30 extra degrees between 2 angles. However, this 150 does not represent that. Okay, that little angle is not 150 degrees. The 150 is this. Okay, that's the 150 degrees. So this is the 150 degree mark starting here to there, That's 150 degrees, which really means that if this is 150, and I know this whole thing is 180, well, what is that tiny area? This spot right here is not 150, it's actually 30. But we call it the 150 mark because we're in reference to that 0, that right side. So from there to there is 30, but the 150 mark is really the 30-degree mark. Kind of confusing. But you just got to think, okay, if it is 150, but I know that my 180 or my straight angle is to the left, we're really talking about the 30-degree mark. All right, and we treat it the same way. Drop your altitude from your point. Now I have a new triangle. Here's my triangle. So this part right here, that's my triangle. 30 degrees, 90 degrees, and of course this would be my 60-degree angle. Now I want to find what this coordinate point is. Remember, all coordinates go x comma y, right? The horizontal direction and then the vertical direction. If I look at my special right triangle right here, across from the 30, so here's my 30, across from the 30 is 1/2. So if I look here across from the 30, this is 1/2. Across from the 60 is root 3 over 2. So this should be root 3 over 2. Very important here though. I'm talking about the direction between starting here at the origin and going left, root 3 over 2. I move left, that makes it negative. So if I ever move left, it's negative. If I ever move down, it's negative. So left and down are negative, right and up are positive. Okay, here, this portion right here would be positive because I go from the axis and up. All right? But if I go from the origin and left, I'm talking about negative root 3 over 2. So my 2 points, negative square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. And then again, this is the 150 mark, so I'm actually going to go up to my unit circle and fill it in. Here we go. Now I don't see 150 on my unit circle anywhere, but here's 135 and here's 180, which then by default would mean that this one would be 150. And then you could figure out the radians if you wanted, but again, what I'm really concerned about here is these coordinate points, which was negative square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. And it also makes sense that if you have a coordinate grid, here, and this is obviously just a sketch, if you're going to tell me to graph the point negative 3 comma 1, right? Just to symbolize the negative root 3 over 2 comma 1/2. I'm going to go left 1, 2, 3 to negative 3, and then I'm going to go up just 1, and my point's going to be there. Now again, this is just a rough sketch, but you can see if the x value is negative, that means left 3, up 1, which is kind of what we saw there. All right, 240. Again, I don't have a 240 degree triangle. But what I do know is that, let me clean this up a little bit. I do know that everything right here is 180. So from here to here is 180. How do I get from 180 to 240? That means that this portion right here is actually this tiny little angle right here. Is 60 degrees, because that's how you get from 180 to 240, is 60 degrees. So if I were to drop my altitude, right here, there's my 60 degrees, there's my 90 degrees, this would be my 30 degrees, and again I want to find that coordinate point. So if I start at the origin, I know I'm going to move left, so I know I have to move left, but let me see how much I'm moving left. If I go back to my two triangles, across from the 60 was root 3 over 2. So here, see if I can write it here, across from the 60 was root 3 over 2. Alright, and across from the 30 is 1/2. Across from the 30 is 1/2. So again, I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I apologize if yours is kind of messy as well. But I had that when I went across from the 60, across from the 30, 1/2. Now everything is in reference to the origin. So I'm moving left 1/2, which means negative 1/2. And I'm moving down root 3 over 2, which means negative root 3 over 2. So you actually have a negative and negative here. Again, makes sense because if you're going to plot a negative and a negative, you're probably going to plot it in the bottom left quadrant there. So if you have two negatives, it's in the bottom left quadrant. Again, I'm moving left 1/2, so that would be negative 1/2. And I'm moving down root 3 over 2, so it'd be negative root 3 over 2. All right. I'll go ahead and leave this. Let me go back and put this in. So that was 240 degrees. Again, 225 is right here, 270 is right there, so that means 240 would be right here. 240 degrees. You can go ahead and find the radians, and you can use what we talked about in the last unit, or the last lesson. You can go ahead and find the radians using the last lesson or the one before that. But we know that this is going to be negative, actually write it in orange, negative 1/2 negative root 3 over 2. Okay, and again, you can go ahead and find the next one down here. Just a hint, again, you're talking about going from trying to find this angle right here and dropping this altitude. So good luck. Hopefully you can find that coordinate point, and hopefully this made some sense to you. If not, again, I'm giving you guys more links as well to hopefully these videos. I know it's tough. Keep up the good work, and if you have questions, as always, let me know.